This episode of the Busted Wide Open podcast is brought to you by Blueberry. Blueberry offers the best media hosting, accurate listening stats, and their all-new PowerPress Deluxe sites. A no-setup WordPress website for your podcast with all the necessary links to share your show with the world built right in. If you currently produce a podcast and are looking for a better host, or if you're looking to start a new one from scratch, head over to orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO and sign up for the best media hosting and a PowerPress Deluxe site to get your first month absolutely free. That's orbitaljigsaw.com/BWO, or just use the promo code BWO at checkout for your first month absolutely free. And now, enjoy the show.
Hello, this is the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, and you can't tell, but right now I'm dressed as Deacon and not the Fallen Angel because I'm at Waterworld, and you are listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast because there's degrees. There's a little bit busted open, but this is Busted Wide Open. You're listening to us, so thanks for listening.
You're listening to the Busted Wide Open podcast, dropping the elbow on the hottest topics in sports entertainment and the world of professional wrestling. With your hosts, Nick Howell and Sir Ian Dangerous. Coming to you from the Orbital Jigsaw Network Arena in sunny Southern California. Welcome back to the Busted Wide Open podcast, but if this is your first time joining the show, I'd like to welcome you to our Patron Mailbag series, episode number 10. My name is Nick Howell.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous, and I look forward to this every damn week, Nick, because we are going to answer a whole bunch of questions from our patrons. And if you want to get in on this little party here, all you have to do is be a patron of our show. Go to patreon.com/BWO and sign up for one of our tiers. You can get in on things like this, asking questions for this show, or get swag, get listener notes. You can get a phone call with us once a month. There's all kinds of fun things you can get there for being a patron, plus the knowledge, the sleeping well at night, knowing that you are helping to support one of your favorite podcasts and helping us do the things that we do here, because it does. We are patron funded at this point, Nick. Like, that's how we do the show. So the more people we have supporting us, the more we can do here.
Yes, indeed.
So so thank you to all of our current patrons, and thank you to all of those who will end up signing up.
Yes,
and,
of course.
And thank you to all you guys who asked questions today, because there's
a lot of them.
there's a lot of them. That's why we do the show, is because we love hearing your guys' questions, and we love having our brains picked. And it actually, a bunch of times, has made me reflect and think about my own opinions and think about the things that we talk about, Nick, and actually made me come to certain epiphanies. So
that's a good point.
I always love doing this show. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, guys, if you're listening to this, you probably already know about all the other stuff, so come join us on Facebook. Just search for Busted Wide Open over there, like our page. Jump into the group with a little join request. We'll get you right in. Jump into our Discord server. You'll see it pinned to the top of the Facebook group. Make sure you vote on the inaugural Busties that we're having this year for the first time. It's going to be an ongoing thing every year throughout the show. We're going to crowdsource the categories for the Busties every year, so make sure you vote on the ones that you like, and be sure to add ones that you don't see listed that you think would go over well also. So make sure you subscribe here on YouTube at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. Jingle that little notification bell as well, so that you get notified anytime we go live or we put up new videos, which are going really well. We're having a lot of fun with all of the new video snippets that we're putting up, our hot takes, as we've called that playlist, and it's going over really well. So thank you guys for all of your likes and shares onto those as well. It's going to help us grow our YouTube presence for sure. So thank you for that. Last and certainly not least, this show would not be possible without our patrons. Thank you guys very much. And as Sir Ian Dangerous said, if you'd like to get in on some of that, patreon.com/BWO is where you can do so. Again, we're going to kick things off with a former BWO Pick'ems champion, Mr. Andy Jessup.
Oh, yes, the former champ.
Former champ. It's been about a year since the McMahons stood in the ring and promised we would be the authority and that they would make changes. Have they delivered on any or all of this?
You know what? Honestly, some. Yeah. Like, we are not seeing automatic rematches as much. That was one of the things that they said, is we're not no automatic rematches. They have, for the most part, stayed away from that, aside from the occasional times where there's a rematch that happens either by chance or they put some sort of half-hearted explanation towards it. But I think overall, no, of course not. We knew at the time this was lip service and bullshit. We were hoping for a major shift, and there really was no major shift whatsoever. So with the exception of a couple of minor cosmetic changes, no, it's pretty much still business as normal. They took away, like, one of the things they were doing there was addressing the massive fall off in ratings, and they really pinned it all on Baron Corbin pretty much in storyline. And because, Baron Corbin's still top of the card. He's just not the general manager anymore. He was Constable Corbin. He was managing the interim manager. He's the problem. So we're going to fire him and see everything's cool again. To me, this was kayfabe. And I think that their actions in the year since then has, for the most part, proven that to be the case. The Authority stepped back, and we haven't seen some of the rematches, but for the most part, business is the same. As long as Vince is in the back booking most of the things, it's going to remain that way.
I'm going to counter that. I agree with most of what you said. I'm going to counter that with, I think the people tend to forget what happened the first half of the year, especially the lead up to WrestleMania. Did you not get all of your face wins, WWE Universe, at WrestleMania this year? Did you not get your Seth Rollins conquering the Beast? Did you not get your Kofi Mania win? Did you not get your Becky 2 belts? Are you not entertained? We got everything we asked for and we want.
You make a good point.
So then we got Shane McMahon for like an inevitable amount of.
Yeah, and then Brock is back to being Brock again.
Yeah, so
like you got it for a little bit.
We're back, but I want to remind everybody there was a period of time this year that was very like, oh my God, they let us have all that stuff. It was real, and it was very quickly squashed a few months later. But yeah, then we got to SummerSlam and all hell broke loose, and then we got to October with Fox. Debuting SmackDown, Friday Night SmackDown. I almost said SmackDown Live again. Debuting Friday Night SmackDown, and Lol Brock, Lol Roman were back again. So
Brock defeated Kofi. Brock defeated Cain Velasquez. Brock beats everybody, and then walks up. Brock beats Ray, walks off into the sunset. We're back to that again.
Yep.
Becky's AWOL on Raw, and Charlotte's the main woman on Raw. Yeah, that's great. We had a whole bunch of those nice things at WrestleMania, and then we just went right back into the groove. So, yeah. Again, like I said, it was kayfabe.
Yep. Thank you very much, Champ, for the question. I think it's 50-50 to answer your question more directly.
I don't think it's even that.
It's probably not even that much, but we've gotten a little bit.
It's like 80-20.
Yeah. They gave us a few things, but it was surrounded and overshadowed by Charlotte Flair somehow beating Asuka and getting back into the match, and that was all just ugly. So anyway,
it was Vince flipping a coin at an urchin's feet and going, "There you go, kid. Don't spend it all in one place."
Right. Next up, Brandon. I saw Shayna working with Red Dragon in Ring of Honor, and I thought how cool a super faction with Undisputed Era and the MMA Horsewomen would be. What is your guys' opinion on this, and how would you book their formation?
I don't know if I would necessarily do MMA Horsewomen and Undisputed Era, because I think Undisputed Era, just the impression that they give is, I don't know. It's a different thing than Red Dragon specifically. And Red Dragon was much more MMA styled,
right,
than they really are in Undisputed Era. So it's a bit of apples and oranges when you compare the two factions then and now. Plus, if you've got 4 women, I can't remember the last time I saw a faction with 4 women and 4 men, or even 3 women. Let's say 3 women and 4 men if Ronda's still gone. So for me, it's hard to wrap my head around that as a concept. The idea of Shayna being like the token badass chick member of Undisputed Era, I could see more than the horsewomen per se, like Shayna with her 2 chicks, because they still are kind of the goon squad. They don't really have the same presence as Undisputed Era, where all 4 guys feel like they're on par.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To some extent, like Adam Cole's still the leader, but they're kind of on par. And I feel like Shayna could step into that dynamic and be on par with the 4 guys. Whereas the other, Marina and Jessamine would be just a few steps below, if not several steps below. So I don't know if having those 2 full factions come together is something that I can really wrap my head around. But Shayna joining Undisputed Era, saying that, like the gold connection in NXT, like let's get all the champions together, and having all the champions working together to keep everyone else down.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's help each other out, defend our positions. That could be an interesting angle.
Andy wants a love angle between Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong to start dating the goons.
I knew someone was going to say that, because I actually was about to make the joke that if this was the main roster, there'd be some sort of weird like sex triangle thing where Adam Cole and Shayna were dating, and she like was sleeping around with Bobby Fish or some nonsense like that. And Kyle O'Reilly was like the weird pervy guy who liked to watch them or something like that. They'd have Roderick Strong had no idea what sex was because he's a little virgin. Like that would be the main roster version of that. But no, this is NXT, and it'd be something actually like be believable and cool. Like, hey, Shayna's a badass champ. Adam Cole's a badass champ. So is Roderick Strong. So are the Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish.
Yeah.
And they all are working together to keep themselves on top.
Well, you do see. So it is true. Marina Shafir is married to Roderick Strong now. They did get married, and you do see them on Total Divas. Even if it's just a quick glance of Roderick, he has made an appearance on there.
Yeah.
As prominent as Ronda is on that show this season. You're inevitably going to see Marina and Jessamine on the show as well. And Roderick was seen a couple times.
WWPC has a great couple of videos on Roderick and Marina at home with their kid, having to leave him behind, and like it's heartbreaking actually. Yeah. But yes, and that's the thing is that. But Roderick and Marina's real life relationship has never really been brought up in NXT, and I think
that's probably smart.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to do a little bit of work on the Horsewomen to have them involved in this at all. Like having Marina and Roddy be like a power couple. And having that be like a sub-faction would be one thing.
Not in my world. I had them going up against the Kabukis, so that was my. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, that's the same guy who wants Jackson Riker headlining WrestleMania. So
yeah, I don't know yet. We'll see. Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Didn't I make some sort of crazy proclamation? I do something insane. If he ever main evented WrestleMania, like I'd eat a shoe, like Werner Herzog style, I'd eat my own shoe.
I don't remember. Like listeners, if you guys remember, let us know. I remember something about a Jackson Riker, cutout, full size cutout.
It's got to be more extreme than that. I'm so certain he's never going to headline WrestleMania that like it's got to be something more than just like a cutout behind me, like Nia Jax. So,
thank you very much, Brandon, for the question. Next up, Josh. First off, thank you guys for taking time out of your lives to bring us the best podcast there ever was, and ever will be.
Oh,
thank you, Josh.
Thank you, brother.
What are 5 things you guys would like to see happen in the wrestling world in 2020? Can we be specific to a certain promotion or just overall? I can do this pretty quickly. There's 5 things I'd like to see.
All right.
There's
Jackson Riker headlining WrestleMania.
No, not that specific.
Okay.
I would like to see. I would like to see a more accepting environment in the wrestling fandom. I'd like to see I'd like to see people be more happy that we have as much wrestling as we do than take pot shots or talk down to people that are basically performing for us. If you want to review them and
we all just get along.
Exactly. Don't be a dick. Just stop being dicks on Twitter.
Peace on earth, goodwill towards men. It is the holiday season for Nick right now.
It is. Yeah.
Okay.
I got a little present for Nia, too, once we move next week.
Ooh. You going to find some alone time with her in the room while your guys are unpacking?
Oh, that is not.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of present you got for Nia. I don't know what's going on.
You guys will see next week after we move the studio, probably a week from today. You'll see.
Stockholm Syndrome. You're stuck in a room with her all the time every day, and she starts looking better and better to you.
She just keeps staring at me all day, every day.
Starting to look good once you're alone in that room for long enough.
I'd like to see wrestling Twitter get a little less toxic. I'd like to see a little bit less of the armchair journalism that goes on above and beyond like our show, like what happens, but just the people that just comment on everything on Twitter and don't really make any, if you do a podcast about it and you take time to think through it and you're building a show around things, that's one thing. If you're just being a dick on Twitter for the sake of being a dick, that's one thing I'd like to see change. And maybe that's just a universal thing about social media.
That's universal.
I'd like to see.
Yeah,
just
come on,
social media in general, right?
Social media is a cesspool.
Yeah. So what would I like to see in the wrestling world? I don't know. I'd like to see a real tag division actually matter in the WWE. To the extent that AEW has made it matter. And you have to credit a lot of that to the Young Bucks being one of the better tag teams in the world, and they're actually running the company. Right. So, of course, they were going to come in and make a badass tag division out of this. The one that's suffering in AEW is the women's division, and that's very apparent. So I'd love to see a better tag division in WWE and a better women's division formulate around in AEW. I think there's room for improvement on both sides of the fence there. Let's see. You know, I'd like to see a little bit less of Roman Reigns. I think is one that I thought we were going down a kind of a positive rebuilding path when he came back from his leukemia for a few months, where he was eating some pins. He was taking some losses. He was putting other guys over. And, you know, once we got into the Daniel Bryan stuff, after that we seemed to get back to lull Roman wins. You know, Superman punch, spear, 1, 2, 3, and great. We're back to Super Cena, Super Roman territory. So I'd like to see a little bit more.
Are you surprised?
Yes,
I'm
actually.
I'm shocked you're surprised. I told you it's a matter of time.
I didn't. I was surprised because I wasn't sure how long he would stick with it. I thought maybe he would take the time to put the trend that I was starting to see, that he was going to take the time to put other guys over in his stead. But no, we are on SmackDown on Fox now.
Is it
right
time
back
to bring
to Lowell Roman?
Is it time to bring it back?
Bring what back?
I'm so bored with Roman Reigns. I'm not there yet, but I can see that you're getting there.
Yeah,
you're getting back to the I'm so bored with Roman Reigns era.
It's not so much that I'm there yet as that I feel it coming. It's the gut hunch is like, oh God. Well, it's where Roman is going to headline WrestleMania again next year.
Probably, yeah.
They'll figure out how to do that. And hell, even I was saying they'll figure out how to put the Hill could be the one that carried the belt onto SmackDown when they debuted. That didn't happen. But we got the other worst possibility immediately afterwards.
Well, you're going to have Roman beat The Fiend at WrestleMania this year. Just, brace yourselves.
What about those are 3 for me? What are some for you?
Well, let's see, shit. I had a couple a second ago, and now I just lost it because I was too busy singing about Roman Reigns. Okay, so this is definitely not the most important thing for me by a long shot. It was the first one that I recovered from my brain there, and that was just for WWE specifically, and then also, I'm seeing it a little bit in AEW. I have this thing about entrances, and you know that I do, and it's about presentation, and it's about the spectacle of the entrances, and I truly believe, and I know that there is a certain element in WWE as well that knows this. Entrances are such a big deal.
Yeah.
And that goes for any combat sport. Any sport, like, and this goes back to the era of the gladiators, where your entrance defines so much. It can get that crowd so hyped for you. It can be the difference between some of them being behind you and not being behind you. And especially with something like wrestling, where it is just so much of a show, it's a big deal. And I feel like there's a certain element in WWE that are lazy about the entrances, where they're doing them so much that at a certain point they just kind of and they get bored with it, and they do it as quickly as possible, or they rush it, or they cut corners. And I feel like that just hamstrings some of these wrestlers. The big one, and people know this who listen to the show, Aleister Black, they've absolutely murdered that guy's entrance. One of the coolest entrances in recent memory, and they've murdered it on the main roster through laziness, through just simple, sheer laziness. And it's inexcusable in my book. There's some guys whose entrances I think used to be cool, and they're still fine, but they've lost an edge, like Ricochet.
Yeah.
And there's people who I think, someone who I feel like has mastered his entrance, and he has enough control over it to make sure that it's always an event when he enters, is Triple H. And he can have the entrance where it's just the music and he walks out and have it feel like a big deal. And then it's like just the over-the-top, completely self-indulgent, ridiculous WrestleMania entrances that he pulls off. But he shares that philosophy with NXT. It's something where in NXT, your entrance is special, and you need to make it special. And in NXT, they believe in having the entrances be a big deal, and they actually will make them big deals even at their takeovers. They'll take entrances that are normally cool and make them insane at takeovers. Remember Shinsuke coming out with the violin player? Like, just simple, but so effective. So that's
and that entire crowd of 20,000 people just humming the Nakamura entrance.
I couldn't tell you what match that was
for. And then they went and jacked it up
for.
with a rap song in Japanese over the top of it. Like, you had one of the most interactive entrances in wrestling.
Yeah.
And you decided to make it a rap song? The lyrics are cool. I get it. I understand what they were trying to do, but you really screwed something up there.
I don't know what they did with his. Yeah. Bobby Roode's entrance has gone from being must-see to... And his is one I think that was a little bit more easy to make, to get burned out on, you know, because it was kind of cheesy to begin with, but that was the point. But at the same time, like, yeah, so that's a minor thing that just consistently bugs me. And in AEW, I feel like the entrances are just a little bit bland. Shawn Spears is a cool one, but it's more just because it's subtly cool. It's just badass, and then it's just an entrance. Cody has, I think, the most epic entrance, but he'll give himself an epic entrance for a promo, which I think is a little bit gratuitous and fatuous. You know what I mean?
It's a little bit Triple H.
A little bit much. And it does make him feel like a big deal, but it's getting to be a little bit much. And then you have other guys who come out and it's just random pyro for the sake of pyro. There's not really like a story being told with the pyro. And that seems like a nitpick. It seems like I'm really nitpicking there. But think about it. Think about what's a bigger deal. Is Pentagon Jr. coming out and going Cerro Miedo and a bunch of random fireworks going off? Or like, you know, AJ Styles. Seth Rollins comes out, says burn it down, and fire comes everywhere. Kane, you know, has the big fire show when he comes out. It's specific to his character. Becky Lynch doesn't even have fireworks. She has, you know, the cool gas spray now. Like, having something that's really iconic for you or that speaks to your character is a lot more effective than random fireworks just going off when you come out.
For me, it's I miss the pops. I miss the glass shatters. I miss the if you smell just and interruptions and things like that will
sure. There's a couple of those. There's a couple of those they have.
They seem a little long and introductory now until in building instead of that immediate just punch you in the face interruption. That I mean just going back and watching some of the old stuff like that. It made me do that on our last Patron episode. I was going back and looking through heel and face
I don't think it's that it's not there. It's not there in some entrances, but it's there in a lot of entrances. Just people don't pop the way that they used to for some of those things. You know what I mean? Like, you've got the kapwing for Ricochet. You've got the Ciampa even has no one will survive, and then it goes. You do have some, like Undisputed Era has it. There's a lot of the entrance themes that have that moment where you take the split second to go, they're here. But it's just the crowds don't pop in the same way for it.
Yeah.
And that's across the board. Like, you don't see Stone Cold pops these days.
All right, that's one. Do you have any more?
What?
Any other things that you would like to see in wrestling in 2020 besides entrances?
Naito with the belt in New Japan.
How dare you? Ibushi is the chosen one. He will carry both belts.
Okay. Naito's taking it. And we're both going to get screwed. It's going to be Jay White.
No!
You know it to be true. I want to see WWE has such incredible women's talent. I want to see them do more with it. They've been really good on that. I just want to see them. I want to see AEW pick up its women's division and get on the level that WWE's at with its. It has a ways to go yet. But one of the things that WWE has going for it is that it's got a bunch of incredible workers who all have strong characters. And it's more so in NXT than the main roster, but even the main roster with the crappy booking they're giving them, I don't think people realize the dark ages that the women in WWE went through as recently as 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even Mandy Rose out there screaming about, you know, this week about, oh, you'll never look like me, and ripping off Alexa Bliss's eyelashes. Everything around that was still so incredibly much better than it was 5-10 years ago. It's unbelievable how much better it is. And I'm not going to get on the whole revolution. You know, I'm not going to get on that. That's WWE made a decision to change the culture of the women's wrestling, and it's done so. Still has a long way to go, and that's what I'm saying is I want to see them continue to improve and get better on it. But yeah, I'm loving what they've done so far. Keep it up.
Yep.
Keep it up. So that's 5 total, I guess, between the two of us.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Thank you, Josh, for the question. Jacob, next up. Should AEW incorporate more things that were on Being the Elite onto Dynamite? Because some stuff that is important gets barely mentioned, i.e. Hangman Page leaving the Elite, that they had been building for months on Being the Elite, but was only mentioned once or twice on commentary.
100%.
Yes.
100%. I think we said that on the regular show that they need to do this.
Well, I think that was one of the things that helped AEW get the launch pad that it had, was all of the work that those guys have been doing on YouTube across the various shows.
Sure.
Cody's American Nightmare channel, and with Brandy's doing stuff as well on her side, and then Being the Elite and all of the stuff that they did coming out of Japan or while they were there as well. So yeah, absolutely they should incorporate more of that stuff.
Simple solution.
Or not do it on YouTube. Do it
Simple
on
solution.
AEW Dark.
Cross promote. Have it mentioned. This happened on Being the Elite this week. If you didn't watch it, this happened, and that's why this is happening on the main show right now. Yeah. So explain what happened where, and then you'll have people, what, Being the Elite? I should go watch that to see what really happened, right? Or show a little clip of it. Whatever it is. Cross promote that, hey, this happened over here, this happened over here, this is what happened. You've got to tell us what happened in case we didn't watch it, or in case we don't know. But then make sure that people know where to go see the stuff as well, as opposed to just being like, as Jacob says, just have kind of like half-heartedly throwing it out there.
Or on YouTube, on the AEW YouTube channel, you have the ability to put playlists from other channels on your channel. So put a Being the Elite playlist on the AEW YouTube channel. Cross them over. Or, I don't know, fire up an online network for $10 a month and start putting the videos on there instead.
Yeah. Or, but the bottom line is that, yes, I agreed, Jacob. They absolutely have to.
Yep.
They have to tell us the storylines a little bit more and not assume everyone's watching everything, because they're not, and they're going to drive people away if they're assuming that people are watching everything, and people start getting confused with the storylines, or they have debuts like Butcher and Blade that people just crap on, don't do anything for. Worse than crap on, not react to.
The thing that saved the Butcher and Blade for me was Allie showing up in the bunny costume and being the valet for the
group. That's a whole different reason.
No, I'm talking about she's the one doing the promos. That's not for a whole different reason. Get Adam, just no. I'm talking about the fact that she came out and cut the promo, and she's a recognized figure in AEW, in women's wrestling. So if she's going to come out and be the puppet master of these two monster heels, whatever they end up being, right?
Well, but look at Wardlow, right? We knew that, like, when he came out, enough people knew who he was because they had the Wardlow is coming videos. You know what I mean? And those were shown on AEW, on Dynamite. So,
okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, I think there's a lot they could do here.
Yeah, totally. Thank you, Jacob. Next up, Sean. 2 months into AEW TV, what are your highs and lows for them thus far, and maybe a couple of storylines you'd like to see from them? Thanks for being awesome, guys. Thanks for a great show week in, week out. Don't forget that positive segment and keep on going on. If you missed it, Sean, we did it for you on the main show. Definitely making that a recurring segment. Thank you for that suggestion. Definitely implementing that. So, yeah, Ian, we're 2 months in on AEW Dynamite and Dark, I guess you could say. What are the highs and lows for them thus far? I feel like we've gone over these several times. Mine is definitely what they're doing with Jericho in the Inner Circle. Easily the best thing going right now in AEW. The lows for me would be the women's division. It doesn't feel like it's hit its stride yet, and I want to give them a year to work that out. Like, let's have this conversation a year from now to figure out.
I don't know if they have a year. I
understand, but that's the impatient nature of the fandom. Let's give the company a year to sort its shit out.
But I agree with you, proselytizing the idea of, like, wait and see, but it's not just fandom. That's just culture right now. It moves too quickly for you to just sit and figure your shit out. Like, you've got to get this handled now. You do not have time, especially if you're going head to head with NXT in the way that the networks perceive that as well. The networks perceive it that way too. Networks aren't going to sit there for a year and be like, you got a year to work out your women's division. No, the networks want results now. Now, do it now. I think there's still some kinks in AEW. I can't say that there's like any low lows yet. There's nothing that's been on there that I've just been like, this is awful. There's been a couple things where I've questioned decision making, and I've thought, okay, well, we got to fix that. But there's nothing that I've straight up been like, this is Rusev and Lana storyline levels.
Yeah.
Highlights. There has been a lot of highlights though. The MJF turn and the Cody Dustin match, and as you said, Jericho overall. The rise of Darby Allin and what a cool character he's been. I frankly think Moxley was cooler in Japan, but I love what they've been doing with him as well.
Yeah.
Pac and Hangman's little feud has been a lot of fun. So yeah, there's been a lot of highlights, I think. So.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Sean, and thank you again for the positivity segment. We're definitely doing that one.
Yes, sir.
Next up, Abraham, who will be getting his booby prize very soon.
Yes.
First off, thank you for the great show. I don't have any metrics to show off on social media, but you're number one podcast in my book. I want to take a second to say thank you guys for Spotify does the annual, like, what you listen to, and they did a special one this year where they did the whole decade retrospective. And it was really interesting. I didn't really start. I curated my own library, so I really just used iTunes for everything until about 2018, two-ish years ago. And then I was in like the 20,000 plus minutes or hours listened or something like that. But yeah, all you guys sharing that we're your number one thing on Spotify, that was right in the feels. Oh, it felt beautiful. Thank you guys for sharing all that stuff.
Beautiful thing.
So on to his question. I've been rewatching a lot of Mafia movies lately as an after effect of watching The Irishman on Netflix. I still haven't gotten all the way through the 27 hours of it, but I...
The Irishman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to watch The Irishman, and then I just went and watched Endgame again because, it's not cinema, but damn it, it's fun.
I can't stop watching Endgame. Sheriff McDonald and I talk about it. God damn it, we're watching Endgame again. Why are we watching this again?
Oh, it's despicable, Nick. It's not even cinema, don't you know? But The Irishman is very much oh, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
All right.
It is a 4-hour epic if you decide to sit down and go through it at some point. It is Scorsese's magnum opus, for that matter, in my opinion. Let's see. The Mafia movies, blah, blah, blah. Who are the 5 families of wrestling? And who would be the Michael Corleone promotion that puts a hit on all the other heads of the families to put them out of commission? What gain would that promotion obtain? Also, I miss Saxon. Me too, buddy.
Miss Saxon a little bit, yeah. Who would be the Michael Corleone promotion? I mean, if we're really trying to tie this to Godfather here, then, I mean, there's not you can't really do 1-to-1.
Wow.
But obviously, let's see. Obviously, you'd have to say WWE is the Corleones because it started by the father, taken over by the son. The only difference is that the son doesn't really like kill the father per se. The father manipulates the son into taking over the business, and he's the one son he didn't want to take over the business. But McMahon Sr. didn't have 3 sons, a hothead, a weakling, and a genius who was innocent until the family corrupted him.
He does have a hothead and someone that you could consider. Is she a genius in her own right? Even though she comes across absent-minded sometimes.
Oh, now you're talking about Kennedy McMahon, Vince Jr.
Oh, I'm talking about Stephanie.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking about that's the next generation.
Oh, you're talking about
Stephanie would be like the Sophia Coppola in your version here, is what you're saying, which is just mean. Which makes Andy Garcia the Triple H, which is kind of cool. I'm not mad at that. We're really going to break down the Godfather here. We're really going to break down the Godfather. Yeah. Well, I don't want to take me down this path. Oh, man. Man, 5 families of wrestling. Well, I mean, right now, I've got to say that Ring of Honor is kind of like The Sopranos, where like once they were kind of a respectable family, but they've gotten kind of trash lately, and they're going to end up just fading to black out of nowhere, like when we least expect it. I was about to say something like New Japan is the Yakuza, I guess. Geez. What else we got here?
I don't even know.
I'm trying to think of more fun, like mafia movie correlations. Like I'm all of a sudden thinking of like Michael Douglas in Black Rain as Kenny Omega in New Japan.
Against the Yakuza.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. I didn't put that together. That's good.
I'm trying to think of other fun ones.
I'm going back to Donnie Brasco with Al Pacino and the 5 families, and they met and all that stuff. It was even beyond the Godfather. It was like, who's the Donnie Brasco? Who's the insider? Who's the agent that's going to come in and screw everything up?
Right, like yeah, who's Al Pacino gonna have to shoot in the diner in the head in front of the chief of police?
Right.
Right, get exiled to Sicily.
Oh God.
Uh,
we could stay here for an hour on this one.
My son is to hang himself in his jail cell, or if he's struck by a bolt of lightning, and I will blame some of the men in this room today, and that I do not forgive.
Billy Corgan is the dude from Casino, says Josh. Are you talking about Joe Pesci?
Pesci from Casino?
Yeah. You only exist out here because of me.
Okay, well then who's Pesci in Goodfellas? Who's Pesci? You think I'm funny? So what am I, some sort of clown to you?
Huh? Funny guy?
Some sort of funny guy, huh? Is that what I am? Would it be Dixie Carter? I don't know. Who would? She's not psycho. She's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
She'd be like Ray Liotta in Goodfellas.
So let's look at.
I'm sorry, Tommy. I got to turn my back on you now. I got to turn my back on you, Tommy.
So if we list these out, we can include NWA, Impact, Ring of Honor, WWE, and AEW.
The big ones, okay.
So which of those? That's the
five families of wrestling right there.
Yeah.
I don't know who's who in relation to like mafia movies. If we're gonna go,
I was gonna go back and do WCW, but I'm gonna include them under the WWE umbrella right now for the sake of the modern era. Yeah, I think that's the current five families that are going on. And who would be the Michael Corleone? I think AEW has a chance to pull this off. They're not anywhere close.
I mean, Tony Khan does have a powerful father.
He does.
You know,
Tony Khan could be
the Michael Corleone.
Al Pacino.
Yeah. He's got a lot of work, man. He's got to go. His son has to get baptized. He's got to kill all the other five families. He's got to have. He's got to
kill Freddie. There's a lot to do. He's got to sacrifice a brother. Oh, he's got a bunch of heinous shit left to do. But
you broke my heart, Cody.
Yeah,
you broke my heart.
Oh man, that could get really fun.
Oh,
thank you, Abraham.
Does that mean Brandy's got to get an abortion? He's going to slap the crap out of her.
Oh man.
Oh, sorry, we're getting dark. We're getting dark here. We're getting dark. Oh, I gotta now. All right, damn
it's the holidays. It's not Halloween anymore.
I gotta go watch The Godfathers again. Oh,
just skip the third one. You're all right without that one.
Such good movies. It was just on TV the other day. I got my fix from that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Abraham, for the question. That's a fun one. Next up, Patrick. I've been going through the old shows on the network and was watching the countdown episode about Thunderous Returns. Which wrestler return did you mark out for the most? Mine would either be Edge returning at the Rumble or the Hardys a couple WrestleManias ago. I popped pretty damn hard for Sting. I'll be honest. When Sting came back, and nobody knew, they kept it really under wraps. And if you remember, it was Survivor Series. The only people this is on an episode of Untold on the network as well. They go over it just came out at the end of November. They had one on there already for Sting's return, but they had one for Sting's getting injured with Seth Rollins and that whole debacle. So they went over it, and just they went over it. Nobody knew. It was only the people like Triple H and Seth and people in that Survivor Series match knew. But yeah, Sting for me was, and I have to give an honorable mention to the Hardys. I popped. That was the year we had New Day as the MCs of WrestleMania, and just
we watched that WrestleMania together, didn't we?
We did. That was the one. I think I came over to your house for that one.
Yeah, we lost our minds. We were like throwing stuff. There was like Boston Terriers flying through the air. Like it was madness.
But that crowd lost their mind. That was one of the biggest, loudest, scary, huge pops at a WrestleMania I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, So I may have, if I look back over all the major pops in history, I may think of another one besides this. But the first one that pops to my head, and this is because we talked about it last week, but I had forgotten like how hard I popped for this, was Triple H coming back in 2002 after he tore his quads. When he came back and he was just ginormous. He was just huge at Madison Square Garden. And that was one of the ones I believe they mentioned on this network countdown episode that he was talking about, that of just being a huge pop. I lost my mind for that one. I was a huge Triple H mark at the time and was waiting for him to come back. And like we kind of thought he was going to come back, and then he did. And it was just immense. And he was immense. And it was just cool as hell. So
we talked about that on our recent top 5 heel and face turns. That year,
Yes.
2002, was a very big part of that
Yes,
episode. So patrons, hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't hear it, go sign up for patreon.com/BWO. Thank you very much. Thanks, Patrick. Great question. That's a good one. Martin is up next. I know that the whole general manager gimmick is boring and played out, but I feel like not having someone in charge of Raw and SmackDown takes away from the storylines. Who is approving the off-the-cuff matches? So who would you have in charge?
Hashtag WWE Logic. They're just happy.
Right. So who would you put today? Who would you have as general manager for Raw and SmackDown?
Teddy Long. No, I'm just kidding.
Holla, holla, holla.
Holla, 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 holla. You get a match with The Undertaker. 5-on-5 match. I always loved Mick Foley as a GM, but he was a terrible one the last time he was GM. But back in the day, him and Edge and Christian, the skits that they would get up to when he was like that GM, that was still one of my favorite GMs of all time. But as far as today, I liked Paige booking it for a while. I don't know why they took her away from that role. I know it was because Baron Corbin's going away, so we got to have Paige go away too. Okay, you don't, but fine. But who else would be a good GM in storyline right now? Samoa Joe, if he's not going to wrestle.
That's what I was going to say.
That'd be fun. But he's, I like him on commentary too.
I absolutely love. I think we both loved the Constable Corbin. What is it? Come on. What did they call it?
Interim general manager.
Interim GM or
I
can't remember what.
We actually started to fall off the Constable Corbin character around the time when they were just making it every week and it was obnoxious. Like we understood why they did what they did, but having that kind of smarmy heel dick GM was a fun idea. I don't always, but at the same time, my favorite modern GM is William Regal. Like to me, he's the prototype. Only comes out when necessary. You feel like everyone in the back, like he's there enough. You feel like everyone backstage is going to him. He's a strong enough character personally that you believe he can stand up to these big personalities. And when he does get flustered, it's fun as hell.
I love that he's got his own crow's nest too at the back of Full Sail now. He comes out and goes, "Hey, knock it off!" I was like, "Oh God, Dad's mad at us again."
You know what this means? You know what this means? If you can't be controlled, war games. Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, I love the dynamic between him. Remember him and Joe?
Oh yeah,
Regal. Oh, it's great. But who do we have? Like, so who else?
I think I'm okay without GMs right now. I hear what you're saying. I hear that it makes it interesting, but there's just too much going on both shows right now to include. I always thought GM promos and segments telling us what the cards were and special matches they were going to make and backstage segments just watered things down and muddy, and it took time away from stuff. I think it's been done well in the past, but I think now
it's also been done horribly. And I think one of the things that waters it down is when they don't write it well consistently. There's things you can do with that could be a lot of fun. One thing that I actually kind of miss is you have a commissioner and you have a GM, you have two people working at the same time, or you have an owner, right? And one of them is strong working heel. One of them is nominally face, but is weak. Like Jack Tunney was weak, right?
Yeah.
Laurinaitis
was weak.
He would make a weak decision and all the wrestlers would question it. And you had someone else like that kind of dynamic where you've got a couple of different dynamics in the sort of backstage booking department or whatever to tell some of those storylines about how the matches get made. And that does bring a little bit more of believability to the different strata of the WWE. Why are we having matches now? Who's doing this? It creates stakes in matches where right now you can have random matches and we have no reason to give a crap about it. If we get a 5-minute backstage segment where all of a sudden we have a reason for the match, it actually does help a lot. But again, it's consistency with the writing, and that has been very inconsistent over the years.
I mostly enjoyed. I'll throw it back to Kurt. I gave it away there. I'll throw it back to Patrick's question previously. I also popped really hard for Kurt Angle's return, even though we knew it was coming. But I mostly enjoyed him as GM. He basically was the same kind that could stand up to it. It was just he fumbled his words. It didn't feel like he knew what he was saying a lot of the times, but he made some interesting matches. He participated in stuff. He was kind of the one that put Ronda out there.
I kind of feel like, and I kind of feel like what they were doing these days with the GMs is they're getting these guys that aren't performers regularly anymore, and they're giving them their scripts 5 minutes before they go out, and so of course they're stumbling.
Yeah.
I think they're undermining their own performers because you saw Kurt, like when he knew what he was saying, he was still completely capable of cutting a promo. Mick too.
Yeah.
But for some reason they were going out there and just not having the time to get these things set. Anyway. Yeah. Digress.
Thank you very much, Martin, for the question. Next up, Esme Standing
Oh, wait, hold
Bear.
on. Time out.
What?
Josh just said in the chat, CM Punk as a GM. Or Sting.
Never happened.
Sting or CM Punk.
Never happened while Vince McMahon's alive.
You don't think?
Happened. Nope.
I see that as a possibility.
Never happened.
In a GM role, I see it. I totally see it. I think that'd be a great role for him, frankly.
It would be a great role, but I don't think it'll ever happen.
I can see it. I can see it happening, Mr.
I could see it. I can fantasy book it in my head of him arguing with Vince over a certain storyline and all. They could totally play that up. Anyway, next up, Esme Standing Bear, the Barman and the Beard. The Barman and the Beard. If you guys follow Brian Cage on Instagram, a picture someone made of a Kenny Omega and Brian Cage stare down was doing the rounds. Kenny reposted it and asked, "Do you guys want to see this?"
Sure.
How? Hell yes. How would you guys book the match? Last man standing cage match, TLC. Who should emerge the victor of the Terminator versus Terminator match? Hashtag BWO booking.
Oh, Jesus.
I think I'm really high on Brian Cage. For as big as he is, he's a little short, but he's massive. He is just jacked in every jacked possible way. He would be awesome to have as a monster on AEW. I don't know if that's been talked about. I don't know if that's been around. The fact that Kenny's talking about it gives me hope. Well, but we've been fans of Brian's for SoCal, for a long time.
But he just dropped the belt in Impact. I don't know when his contract is up off the top of my head for Impact. I could definitely see him ending up in AEW. He knows a lot of those guys. I am trying to think if Kenny and he have ever had a match. I know they were in PWG at the same time together. I was actually at a show where they were both at the show together. They didn't have a match that night. But I don't know if they have. As far as booking the match, like if you wanted to build it into being a big marquee match, it would basically be Kenny Omega beat this, big muscular wall of a dude, build Brian Cage as the more of the beast and Kenny is more of the technician, and have it be technique versus power, and have the match be about that as well, where Kenny tries to overpower Brian Cage and Brian Cage overpowers Kenny, and Kenny has to use his technical technique to start beating Cage, but then Cage shows off that he can actually work that way too. And have it be just a fun match about, which one of them is going to get the upper hand, seeing as they're fairly evenly matched. Yep. So, yeah, basically, I don't think you need stipulations. I think that, you could have stipulations down the road, but I don't think you need them. I think that both these guys have the talent, the look, the ability, and again, the Terminator versus Terminator gimmick. One's the cleaner. Right. And Kenny Omega does a lot of the Terminator moves, and Brian Cage does a lot of the Terminator moves.
He came out with the mask and the sawed-off shotgun in New Japan. So, yeah, it's totally
Brian Cage has gone less for that. Like, everyone would do the Terminator stamp for Brian Cage because one of his catchphrases was, he's not a man, he's a machine. But more often than not, he gets the Wolverine thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's come out in the full Weapon X getup, and he used to, I think, go by Weapon X. His finisher is still called Weapon X. He's got Drill Claw. His finisher is
the Weapon X.
Drill Claw is one of his signature moves. Like he does a lot more Wolverine stuff than he does Terminator stuff.
I could see Brian Cage coming in and being a Brock Lesnar-esque sort of figure in AEW and being that giant dragon to slay. Right now it's Jericho, and they're that schmarmy heel we were talking about on the main show. I think they need a big, giant dude. That's the one thing I don't... Wardlow gives me hope, but he's more of a goon. They don't have that
Hager.
big...
Jake Hager.
More of a goon until they do something with him. They need that one guy that's just massive and jacked and huge, but can still go. And Brian Cage, if he can get his back healthy, I would say. That'd be the only thing. But, yeah, I would love to see that dude on TV every week.
All right. Same.
Thank you, Esme. Much love for Brian Cage for sure. Eric is next up with TLC right around the corner. What are your top 5 TLC matches? What are your least 5 TLC? That's a bonus episode, Eric.
No, I think we'll
put that one on the list.
No, I can knock this out.
Let's see. Everyone ever with the Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys, and Edge and Christian. Done.
Yeah, SummerSlam 2000 and WrestleMania 17 are the top. I mean, you can't beat the originals, the best. I mean, beyond that, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, John Cena, and Edge was really good.
The crazy ladder match we had. Well, we're talking about TLC matches.
No, we're talking TLC specifically, and the funny thing about TLC matches is specifically tables, ladders, chairs matches are typically pretty good. Like even I'm trying to think of the worst one of all time, and I'm assuming that the worst one is just one I've forgotten about. I think. What was it? CM Punk and Ryback that was kind of a trash one. Oh, who was it? Was it? Damn. I'm trying to think of like some of the crap. Again, I'm spacing on the crappier ones. Like most of the ones I can think of were actually good. Like CM Punk Ryback was kind of meh. Ms. Jerry Lawler, meh. But like most of the ones I think of are good.
Yeah.
You know?
I think of TLC matches, I think of the three biggest tag teams maybe ever in WWE.
Yeah. Team Hell No versus the Shield. Team Hell No and Ryback versus the Shield. That was a fun one.
That was a good one. Yep.
Yeah, most of the ones I think of are good. So, but I think I just rattled off 5 good ones and a couple of crap ones. So there you go. Boom. No bonus episode required, Nick.
Nice.
Bam. But yeah,
Thanks, Eric.
But I can't. That's 5 good ones, and I can't think of any really crap ones. Like TLC matches are usually pretty damn good.
It's my favorite stipulation.
You say that about every stipulation.
Well, for right now, it's my favorite.
Okay. All right.
Every pay-per-view is my favorite pay-per-view as well. If you guys hadn't figured that out,
it's my favorite match.
Spoiler alert!
It's my favorite.
Thank you, Eric, for the question. Next up, Dominic.
Baron Corbin versus Daniel Bryan. I love it. It's my favorite match.
Next up, Dominic. Hey, guys, if you had to recreate a storyline from the past with the actual roster, which storyline would it be and who would you choose? Can be across all promotions.
Oh.
Thanks.
Oh.
Do you have a favorite all-time storyline?
Oh, God. That's like picking amongst my children.
Right.
Didn't we have this as a patron question a week or two ago? Like, what was some of your favorite storylines? And I think like I had a bunch. I had like Macho Man and Jake the Snake with the actual Cobra, where Jake was tormenting him. And I had like Pentagon Jr., the first 2 seasons of Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan's rise obviously was like all-time classic. CM Punk going into Chicago with John Cena was incredible.
If you had to recreate one of those, who would you use on the roster today to kind of do it again?
I'm just trying to, what was the storyline where someone threw Rock's Intercontinental title in the river? What was that one? I'm spacing.
Was it Stone Cold?
Stone Cold threw the Rock's title in the river. Wasn't that it?
I think that was it, yeah.
That was awesome.
I'd have to go dig. Let's ask the Google machine.
That's no fun.
I'm
trying to train my brain to remember these things.
Intercontinental Championship in the river. Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Hey, all right.
I see. I just wanted validation that I was right. That's really what that was more about. I knew that answer, but I wasn't 98. No, I wasn't 100% sure.
Adam Cole and Jordan Miles recreating Triple H and Booker T from 2000. No, never mind. Forget it. I did not. No, I don't want that. No. Who would I have recreated? I don't know. Some of these I don't know if you could do on main roster right now. You know? I mean, I kind of feel like they're doing Orndorff and Hogan with Cody and MJF right now in AEW.
Yeah.
I feel like there's echoes of that.
Even Macho Man, because eventually, they're going to come back around and join forces in some way.
Right.
It's inevitable. So you could even throw a Macho Man Hogan angle at Cody and MJF.
It's funny because
put
kind of
Brandy in the middle somehow,
Yeah, I mean, kind of like where they say, don't be so and so from the past, just be yourself now. No one's ever going to be another Mick Foley. Don't try to be Mick Foley. Just be yourself. Be Abyss. Right. Like I don't really like it when stories get note for note recycled. And I'm trying to think of storylines that I would like to see again, and it's more like I don't mind shades of former storylines coming back. I don't mind if there's echoes of it, but note for note, I wouldn't want them to recreate a storyline, like especially if it was a really good one.
So are you sitting down right now?
No.
Josh Logan in the chat said invasion angle with New Japan invading AEW.
Except, again, I wouldn't want them to do the invasion the way that WWE did it. I'd want them to do it right. And I'm trying to think if anyone's ever done an invasion angle right, where so-and-so invades their...
NXT, recently on Survivor Series lead-ups. That was done really well.
It was done better than I would have expected.
Agreed.
But it was
I honestly can't think of any because
I wasn't mind blown on it.
I hate rehash storylines.
No, Josh Logan completely, that would be insane. But New Japan would never do that to the level that you would need them to do it to make that just insanely effective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might be able to pull it off, like if, as Nick is ridiculously postulating, if AEW buys Impact, you could have Impact invade AEW in a similar way. But even then, I'd want to see them not go note for note with that. Just the basic premise of another company invading, a company, and have that work. That have it done well.
They're wanting more presence in the States. It's not entirely out of the realm of possibility.
Here's one. Bullet Club betraying Bullet Club always kind of cuts its own head off, right? It's always like the leader of Bullet Club is always getting executed by this
so Jay White would be next somehow?
Not even in Bullet Club. I mean, like in another faction.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Like someone within Inner Circle cuts off Jericho's head. Right. Like they take out Jericho and then they're the new head of Inner Circle. Like Jericho brings
Jake Hager for
example. Or something like what happened in Bullet Club where, let's say, Jericho brings in Brian Cage as a big monster heel, and he comes along and he supplants Jericho as the head of Inner Circle. Okay, something like that. That's about as close as you're going to get from me to like rehashing storylines.
Yeah.
But
I don't like rehash storylines. We tend to see them rehash most often around love angles and shit like that.
Oh God,
cheating angles and stuff. And that's
Vince
one
loves
of the reasons
his cuck shit.
I have a bad appetite for cheating and love angles, and that's really the only ones we ever see get rehashed.
He loves cuck angles and wife cheating angles and feet. Anyway.
Okay. This is getting weird. Thank you, Dominic, for the question. We're going to move on before Ian takes it darker. Next up, Billy. Most of us are aware of how the majority of moves are done and done safely. But are there any moves you just don't understand how they're done? For me, that Shayna Baszler arm stomp just blows my mind, how she can do that safely and make it look so painful. Do you remember when Forgotten Sons were cool? Yeah, me neither. Hang on, Billy.
Yeah, Billy.
Hey.
Yeah. Get him.
Why don't you sneak in little stuff like
that?
Get him. So the question is, are there any moves you just don't understand how they're done?
Anything that Ibushi does to his
safely.
Neck. Well, that's the thing. There's some moves where I go, there's no way that's safe, and it's probably because it's not safe.
Right.
Burning Hammer, for example. It's just not a safe move. What was the Kobashi move I saw him do the other day? And it was like he never did it on Misawa or anybody else because it was just too unsafe. What the hell was he called? It looked like it was like a suplex burning hammer thing where she just dropped the guy on the side of his head. I'm like, that's not even a safe move. You're just basically hurting a guy. Yeah.
I'll say package pile drivers and Mexican destroyers or Canadian destroyers.
No, because I see how they make those safe. I can see how they're...
You put your shoulders on somebody's thighs.
And the thighs are up and
you tuck your head. And I get it, but people's heads are longer, and when I see it done to people that have no neck issues.
Well, okay, then here's one, Nick, for you. What about the RVD DDT sell? Anytime someone sells like a 1916 or something like that, where someone comes down in their neck on that angle and they just bounce off their neck. I've seen Neville do this, where he's literally bounced off of his head Like it's like his neck is a spring of like that's. I understand it's because they do all the neck exercises. Their necks are insanely strong, and so it would be like me dropping down and like popping back up into a standing position by doing a push-up. Like, fine, I get it. I still see it and go, how? How are you bouncing off your neck? How?
Yeah.
Again, Ibushi.
Most of them are not safe, as you pointed out. The ones that we question how they do it are normally not safe.
If you want to know how to do the Shayna arm stomp, I'll show you how to do it. It's actually I wouldn't want to.
You can lay your elbow down and just bend your shoulder like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine.
But it looks great.
Thank you, Billy.
It looks great.
It looks nasty.
Josh Logan's still throwing out the dimes here in chat. The Shibata headbutt.
Anytime Ishii headbutts anyone, I get cringy.
Oh man. No, he's right. Shibata headbutt. How does he do that safely? Simple answer. He doesn't.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Billy. Next up, Marshall. With the end of the decade coming to a close, who would you make as your top 5 wrestlers of the 2010s, any promotion, men and women? This is going to spoil my video I'm making for you guys. But I'll rattle them off for the patrons. Well, I'm doing 10 in the video that I'm working on.
Well, give us a taste.
Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar.
Yep.
Brock
Lesnar's one of mine.
Daniel Bryan,
another one.
And CM Punk.
Tanahashi, Okada, also on my list. And AJ Styles.
I'm doing mine around WWE, but looking back on it now, I probably should include other promotions as well. But I'm centering it around WWE as I tend to do. But
yeah, CM Punk. The problem with CM Punk is that he spans 2 decades, and he was out in 2014. 6 years, but huge for the first 4 years. Daniel Bryan, though, has been going the entire decade with the two.
Stone Cold Steve Austin was the biggest guy in the company, and he was only there for 4 years.
But if I have to pick 5. And Tanahashi and Okada are absolutely on my list. That's 2 down. I've got 3 to work with. Brock Lesnar has been ubiquitous for this entire, for the latter half of the decade, and I'd say he's been a huge fixture. Daniel Bryan has to be in there because he's been going since the top of the decade, and with and even at the time he was out, he was still working on WWE TV. And his presence cannot be understated, and the things that he did when he was, around WrestleMania 30, etc. Well, that's 4. AJ Styles headlined 3 different promotions in this decade. Yeah. 3, and the biggest ones in the world.
He's
was
on
the
my
top,
list too.
and was the top guy in each of those promotions. And people that are just barely missing out: CM Punk, Roman Reigns. They're barely missing out on this list. But
even if it's just for the work rate.
Sure.
Those guys just beat to hell.
Seth is below even that, unfortunately.
Seth made my list because of combination of work rate and just presence. He's been basically a staple of WWE for the last 6 years at least.
But hasn't Roman Reigns been that, but just on a bigger scale?
No, because I'm giving Seth Rollins the time with the authority and the heel turn and the cash in and all that stuff. That edges him out over Roman, in my opinion.
But Roman was doing stuff at that time too.
Stuff. He wasn't the most talked about figure in wrestling for 2 years.
No, he was the most talked about figure in wrestling for like 6 years straight.
All right. We'll debate
this. Just saying. We'll debate this at another time for another show. That's a long one right there. But I think if we're about to give our quick 5, I think you just got it.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Thank you, Marshall. Next up, Brian, to piggyback off of Marshall's question. Yes. Current BWO Pickups champion. To piggyback off Marshall's question, if you got to build a fantasy supercard of the top 10 wrestlers from the 80s and 90s, WWE and non-WWE combined, put them in matches against your top 10 wrestlers from the 2000s and 2010s, what matches would you love to see?
Good Lord.
That sounds like something to do in the video game. If possible, have at least 2 tag matches and 2 women's matches. So I will come back to that. Second question for Ian. Really love hearing your takes on horror films. Would it be possible to maybe get a Horrorpalooza year-end episode to discuss your favorite horror films of the past decade?
Ooh.
Bonus episode for Horrorpalooza? We could easily put that up, man.
Oh, I mean...
Could you do a top 10 of the 2010s
horror
movies?
Oh, my God.
You could probably rattle those off right now. You play them every week in the bar.
Yeah, well, that's true. I actually could probably rattle off a bunch, but I won't because I don't want to spoil the episode. But
there you go.
Yeah, the 2010s have been real good for horror, actually.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just a matter of if I've got the time to put it together. I'm working on our T-shirt designs this weekend, and I've got to. I mean, I suppose I could put that together. Yeah, I might have a little time Wednesday before having to do the Saturday show for us. Yeah, maybe I could put that together. It might be doable. Might be fun. Yeah. Little top 10 more.
Do you think we can do this justice, this question, in the time that the 15 minutes over time that we already are? I feel like this is one that goes on the list for a bonus episode because I love this question. This is right up my alley. This is the kind of shit I love doing.
Nick Bookin. Hashtag Nick Bookin right here.
Oh my God, NWA Ric Flair versus Brock Lesnar. Just stupid shit, right? And somehow Flair wins.
Sounds terrible. That sounds terrible.
All right, fine, whatever. That I love doing this stuff. I would love to spend some time on this, though.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to make this?
Brian, we're gonna put this one on the list.
Do you want to make this January or February or something?
January. I'm hoping to get my Part 2 fantasy booking in.
Oh no! All right.
Got to get it in before the Rumble because that's where things go batshit crazy. If you think the first half was bad, oh
Lord!
I got news for you, son.
You
guys aren't ready.
All right,
you guys
okay.
Aren't ready.
Yes, Champ, if you don't mind, this does sound like a really fun. Like we'll even put some more crazy stuff on top. Like we'll throw some dressing on top of this salad right here and make a really fun bonus episode for the patrons who pay for the bonus episodes.
Yes.
And by the way, if you do listen to if you are a patron, you're the $10 tier. You can hear our bonus episode. Our last one was top 5 face turns, top 5 heel turns of all time. That was a fun one, Nick.
Yes, it was.
We kept screwing each other up with our picks. A lot of fun.
But it's always fun to hear us pick the same stuff in different spots and have different perspectives on it.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah.
I still can't believe it.
Josh says we'll all need us to send Sir Ian a bottle for Christmas to get him through Nick booking.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. Oh, dude, you should see.
You guys, you don't know where I've been. You don't know what's coming.
I do, and you should see what my reps got me for Christmas this year. My fridge has some crazy shit in it right now. So
Marshall said you're gonna need a little bit of the bubbly.
Oh, I've got.
He's gonna need more than that, Marshall.
I've got a little bit of the bubbly on the way, actually.
You did buy a bottle? You see, I went and looked, and I was like, I'm not gonna give $46 for a bottle of Jericho's piss. You know, I'm not gonna give $45 for a $10 bottle of Brute.
Not give Jericho money, it should be me. Yeah. But yet, I mean, come on, we do a wrestling podcast. I got to have some meme material hanging out around here. So, anyway.
Thank you very much, Brian. Promise we will get that one in a bonus episode very soon. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say February. We'll make that the February bonus episode. Ian, if you wouldn't mind making that a note so we can come back to that.
Marking it down now.
Lionel, last up to tie off the end here. Top 3 best wrestlers of all time. I'll start by saying number 1, Stone Cold, number 2, Undertaker, and number 3, I'm supposed to say Ric Flair, but as I was born in 92, I never saw his peak. Rick is such an icon that it can be hard to appreciate his good because it's been copied and remixed so much. So I'll probably say Kurt Angle. Amazing in the ring, great on the mic as both a heel and a face, which means a lot to me. Could do brawls, could do technical mat wrestling, could do high-flying stuff, could be an underdog, could be a giant, could do comedy, could be a titan. Kurt can do everything. I only realized I hated him so much as a kid because he was that damn good as a heel. Your turn. So top 3 wrestlers of all time.
So we got to do the we used to do 4. We used to do our Mount Rushmore.
We did do our Mount Rushmore. And I heard the Going in Raw guys recently doing their Mount Rushmore of the 2010s, and we kind of just did ours, or we kind of did our best ones. I didn't want to take that angle because several people are already doing that. So top 3 all time. I mean, yeah, you kind of did my top 3 for me. It's I would swap out Undertaker for Rock. That would be the only for me personally.
Yeah, as one thing we learned on the last bonus episode was that Nick loves himself some Rock. Yep. Loves himself.
I would do Stone Cold. I would do The Rock, Stone Cold, Ric Flair in that order.
Oh, geez. See, this would remember when we did our Mount Rushmore, it was so insanely hard for me.
It was.
Because I was like, well, are we talking like historical? Are we talking personal? Are we talking combination of
best,
personal and
not favorite, best?
He says the best wrestlers of all time.
Top 3 best wrestlers of all time.
Are we talking like just skill in the ring though? Like this is my problem with doing.
Yeah. It's very subjective. That's why I always just lean towards my personal favorites. So I don't want to debate anybody on whether or not The Rock was the best wrestler ever, because he wasn't. I'll admit that. But you know what? Every time he came out, I had a blast. And Marshall just said in the chat he's timeless. He could work in any era, and that's true.
See, that's why I think Flair is on my list. Because he did go through so many different eras.
Same thing with Flair.
So many different eras, including all the Evolution era.
Somehow we only got Stone Cold for 4 magical years, but I feel the same way about him. I could see him coming
he's not on my list.
Trunks and drinking beer in the 80s, giving people the finger, and it would have gone over like gangbusters.
I don't think it would have. I think it would have been too edgy. He would have been a heel in that era.
And I don't think Flair and the Horsemen
he wouldn't have been over.
Around,
he wouldn't have been over the way he was. He wouldn't have been over the way he was in the 90s. That was for when he came out. That was just him there. But Flair.
Could he have driven a beer truck into the NWA studio? No, I grant you that.
Flair, Taker, and either Mitsuharu Misawa or Tanahashi.
I don't know where to rank him, but Hogan's on this list somewhere.
He's somewhere down there with the other racists.
Let's ignore that for a second.
I'm of course
how
joking.
big of a figure and the work rate that he put in and the presence that he had outside of the ring.
But again, you're talking about sports entertainers or wrestlers here, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Is are we talking about just the business as a whole? And if so, then I just gave you my 3. Yeah. Flair, Undertaker, and damn it, I really do enjoy Tanahashi more than Misawa, but Misawa really was, I think, better technically. So yeah, there you go.
I can't get past High Fly Flow being basically a Twisted Bliss and just.
But it's not Twisted Bliss; it's a frog splash.
Yeah,
but that's it. Yeah. That's why I said I gotta kind of go with Misawa, because Tanahashi is a bit more of a sports entertainer, whereas Misawa is just a straight up goddamn wrestler. Yeah. So. Yeah. There you go.
Kenny's on that list somewhere right after this.
Kenny Omega?
Yeah. The match, the run that he had in New Japan was awesome.
He is way the hell down there.
All right.
He's way the hell down there. He's underneath Okada, and Okada's down on my list because they're still so new. We're talking about the best of all time, Mount Rushmore, like kind of stuff. Nah. Come on, man. I'm looking at longevity of careers here as well.
You're so easy to... I knew you would react over Okada.
Come on.
That's why I said that.
Okay.
Well, guys, that is our episode. Thank you very much, Lionel, for your question. I'm sorry I didn't get to say that, but that's our Patron Mailbag, episode number 10. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for hanging out in the chat. You made it that much more interesting. We always love the side commentary and perspective coming out from you guys as well.
Yes.
If you guys missed out on that, make sure you're live and head over to youtube.com/bustedwideopen. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and jingle that little bell so you get notified whenever we put up new content or go live. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes where we stream live on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern and Saturdays at 3 p.m. Eastern right here at youtube.com/bustedwideopen. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BWO Podcast. Make sure you're in the Facebook discussion group by heading over to Facebook, searching for Busted Wide Open, liking our page, and joining the Facebook BWO discussion group. where you can get access to links to our Discord community. We need your votes right now for our December bonus episode, so make sure you're doing that as well. But you can only find that in the Busted Wide Open discussion group on Facebook. And last but certainly not least, the reason this show exists at all is because of our patrons. Thank you guys so much for your contributions to the show every single month.
Thank you.
And yeah, just, if you want to get in on that and have the ability to get access to the show notes for every episode, the ability to ask listener questions for this very show, and then much, much more, such as Sweet Swag, the ability to do Skype calls with me and Sir Ian Dangerous every month.
Yeah.
All kinds of good stuff over at patreon.com/BWO. But my name is Nick Howell. You can find me on Twitter at DataCenterDude.
And I am Sir Ian Dangerous. You can find me on Twitter at Sir Ian Dangerous.
But by God, somebody stop the damn match!
This show is part of the Orbital Jigsaw Network. For more episodes, subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher Radio. For details and show notes from each episode, check us out, orbitaljigsaw.com.